Hey everyone, it's me for the last episode of our LCS preview for the summer split of 2023. To these teams are actually really short because neither of them made changes, so we're really going to be talking about them in the scope of MSI because both of them went to MSI, and it was kind of planned to be like this. But without further ado, let's hop right in. Let's start with Cloud9. Okay, so as I discussed, we're starting with Cloud9. This team didn't make any changes, which obviously is a good thing. This team is pretty good for NA. They won last split, obviously, so they dominated last split as well, pretty much. This team is pretty good for NA, but do I think that they'll be better than Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, etc.? Like those other top 5-ish teams, even maybe really just top 3, really. Where do I think they'll be? Well, as already stated, I think FlyQuest is probably going to win the regular season. They're probably going to have the most best of 1 wins. But I think Cloud9 will probably have a hard time recovering. Despite the fact that the meta is definitely favored for someone like Berserker, the meta in support right now does not look very good for Sven. If it turns out that the Enchantresses do end up being a really high priority pick in pro play, because they are pretty high priority in solo queue, with Echoes of Helia being a really broken item, if those changes that they make don't make Enchantresses like an undesirable option, then Sven will do fine, because Sven is very good at Enchantresses. He's a very good range support player. His engage supports are a lot worse, to be honest. But if the Enchantresses end up going back to the meta, Berserker being a hyper carry and Sven being on a type of support that he's better at, this team will actually look really good. And they'll definitely have a good chance at being in a good spot for the split, maybe even winning the regular season. We don't know. Jimenez, well, he's kind of a wild card because his champion pool is really strange. I think he might struggle a bit coming back, but at the same time I think he's still going to be really good. I just feel like his showing at MSI was really weak, but at the same time that could be really motivating for him. I mean, as far as we know, that what he learned at MSI could actually really help him out coming back to NA. But it really just kind of has to be like a time will tell thing. The only player I'm really concerned for going into this split is Blabber. Fudge, he's a constant force in the LCS. I mean, no matter what the top meta is, he's pretty adaptive. He's able to play everything to like a degree that is good enough to win LCS, so he's never really a concern for me. And even though he choked at MSI again, he choked at Worlds last year and he ended up being a really good top laner again, so it's not like it isn't like international means much to him, or for him rather. Blabber though, the tank jungler seem to be what's in right now, and I don't know. I mean, if the assassin jungle picks lose a lot of priority in pro play, or if they don't have a lot of priority, then he's kind of screwed because he can't play in very many carry junglers that would be viable, and the tanks will probably just be the forefront. So if it's a tank jungle meta for Blabber, it's gonna look bad. He's gonna kind of falter. If it's assassin meta works and they make it through champ select and he can play it well, then he's actually gonna look really good because he's pretty good at the carries. He's just not that great at the more supportive jungle picks. But that being said, where do I think that this team will be? It's hard to say, actually. I'm actually going to make... I think that this team will probably place... I'll say second. I'll say second place for sure. Even while before making this, I had a hard time deciding which between the two teams would go first. I think I've settled. I think Cloud9 will probably be the second place team for LCS this split in the regular season. But that being said, let's move on to the next team, and that team is Golden Guardians. Alright, so we're here with the Golden Guardians. Once again, they also made no changes, and what I would like to start off by saying is I love this team. I'm absolutely in love with the Golden Guardians. I think this roster is amazing. They really showed up last split, and they're really, really, really fun to watch. But where do I think they're going to place? Well, compared to Cloud9, they actually had a pretty successful MSI. Despite the fact that they placed lower than Cloud9, technically they had a better showing against international teams than Cloud9 did. They almost dealt JDG, the actual champions, a loss. And they actually managed to take a game off of Bilibili, the second place team. So I would argue that they had a much more impressive showing than Cloud9 did. That being said, what do I think that they're going to do once they come back? Well, I think that the meta is not really going to be favored for them. I think River, Gory, and Huhi will be fine, because Huhi can play anything. He's a consistently good support player. He can kind of just pick whatever he wants, and he usually can make it work. So Hui's not a concern. Gory will be fine. The meta, he can kind of just, he is flexible enough, and I think with what is meta in mid lane, he'll be fine. So Gory is not much of a concern to me. River, same thing. River can kind of play what he wants. If the assassin, he definitely can pilot the assassin, so if the assassin meta's there, he'll be good. Tank meta, though, he can also play the tanks pretty well. So River's also fine. Where we have to really look is Licorice and Stixxay. So Licorice is coming off of one of the best international tournaments of his life. Even though they didn't do very well, he performed crazy well, and put up a really good performance against like Bin and 369, like some of the best top laners in the world, if not the two best in the world. So Licorice is looking really good. The meta, I think he won't be too worried. I think I would worry a little bit more if it was on the carry top meta, because Licorice is not that great at carry tops. He's really, really good at tanks, and he's really, really good at like making tanks look really OP. If Cassante is still a good champ, you know he's gonna do well with it. But Licorice was definitely the weak point of Golden Guardians during the spring split up until playoffs. So really, it just kind of is how it pans out. I think Licorice is not really the main point of concern for this team, but he's definitely a point of concern because his performance definitely determines a lot of the success for Golden Guardians. It has been that way for a while, so he's an important figure to look out for. But the real person to look out for is Stixxay. So Stixxay had a really good spring split, and he had some flashes of brilliance internationally, but really he just didn't look nearly as good as he did. He looked a little off form at MSI. So I'm a little worried about how he's going to take the hangover for MSI. If he falters, this team is screwed, to be honest. But I think with the way that the meta is working out, he should be fine. Stixxay didn't look terrible, he just looked off form. I think that when they come back to LCS, they will admittedly have some easier bot lanes to face. So I would argue that they'll still do fine. And I'm not too worried about Stixxay, but it's definitely like the crucial part of this team that he performs well. But where do I think that this team will end up? Well, considering that every other spot has been taken up, you could probably guess that Golden Guardians are probably going to place 3rd in my rankings for the regular season. They are likely going to go to Worlds. 2. I'm really excited to see what this team does. I love the Golden Guardians. They've made a fan out of me this year, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do this year, for the remainder of the year. And I think that this team will probably they'll be alright. So that officially wraps up our placings for the LCS teams this split. I will be releasing a brief video, recording that one after this one, where I just quickly rank the teams. I'm not going to do much talking about it because I obviously have this series for you to refer to, but I'll give a little notes. I'll add some updates as well. There have been a very few roster updates, but I'm recording this approximately 4 days before LCS starts, so I gotta really get to it, but I'll do what I can to get these videos out quickly. You will see that very quick video released the day of LCS, before it starts, so just look out for that. Again, as always, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to start being really brief with these because I don't want to keep rambling about the same shit over and over again. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video where we rank the teams, and that's the end of this sort of summer series. So peace.